Okay, let's do another one quickly. This is about uh, using theater for promoting sustainability, as we said at the end of last podcast. The fisherman and the farmer, how to enliven the concept of sustainability by means of a theater piece. We report the results of a theatrical approach designed to enliven the teaching of sustainability for students. It's based on a theater piece that can be performed by the teachers or proposed to students to perform themselves. It should be coupled with a more formal teaching of the basic concepts of sustainability as part of an introductory level university course or for high school students. Our experience shows that this approach can enliven the subject matter and interest students at various levels, thereby providing a connection with more advanced modeling on sustainability at the research level in universities and research institutes, with the perception of people who are not researchers. So you get people engaged and excited about sustainability. They can then ask questions of the researchers on the concept and its implementation as perceived by the students, especially at the younger age of high school. Considering that the work on sustainability being performed at the university campuses is often perceived as abstract and theoretical rather than having practical applications, this approach is also a way to connect the general public with the work being done in universities and research institutes. So you come in as an outsider with specific questions about sustainability that you learned from watching the theater pieces, and you drive the researchers to answer your questions, and obviously you can ask good questions that can make them think and do better in their research than just abstract paper-driven research, right? Assessment and conclusion. We all do what we can to improve the human condition on this planet, and this play is part of this effort. Is it effective? We had no sufficient resources to perform statistically significant tests, but we can report here that we found in the several tests we performed, we can report here what we found in the several tests we performed. First of all, the play does engage the interest of students, and we find that this is true especially for young ones who seem to be able to catch immediately what the story is about. You can think about Bollywood movies like The Day After Tomorrow or the Geostorm and so on, which try to carry the message of climate change. And there is one recently came that's on Netflix called Up Above or something. It's supposed to save the world, but then they put this nice supposedly humorous nice story on climate change on Netflix, where you cannot rent single movies. You have to be a member. How are you going to save the world if you're going to make money by putting things on Netflix? It just sounded stupid, so I haven't watched it. Okay. We may imagine that some of them might become one day decision makers. Then they might remember the concept that it is better to behave like farmers, at least as they are presented in the play, who keep their seed for the future harvest, rather than like fishermen, again in the simplified way that they are presented, who simply live day by day. So it's a paradigm or a metaphor being used here, saying farmers think longer term, cleaning the fields, sowing the seeds, waiting for the harvest, and then preparing the seeds for the next season and so on, as opposed to fishermen who go out when it's the season, catch what they can, come back, sell it, use what they can or use what they need, and then next day they start again, right? Also, and in agriculture, you have land, you till it, you put fertilizers, you irrigate, you put seeds, and you have a way of trying to control crop yields, whereas most cases you are out in the ocean or a lake and a river catching fish, which are trying to survive on their own. So all the management of the resource comes from managing fisheries rather than maximizing the fish yield or something like this, right? On the other, and they may act in a consistent manner. So we're talking about fishermen. who live day by day, and they might act in a consistent manner, steering their organizations towards investing in the future. This is the students who learned from the theater piece about farmers and fishermen. On the other hand, they may not. This is what we can say. We are all engaged in a difficult trip toward the future, and we hope that our experiments could provide hints for others in developing a new narrative to fight the widespread overexploitation of the Earth's commons humans are engaged in. I have a whole section based on a book called Sustaining the Commons, where we discuss the details of how to achieve a triumph of the commons instead of going towards the tragedy of the commons, which result from overexploitation that is mentioned here, but that's another section. Okay, so leave it here, come back and look at Whale Hub Museum collections and contemporary art to promote sustainability among higher education students. So we are reaching now into ways to enhance sustainability perceptions and educations and awareness as opposed to implementation on campuses. But this is of course part of engaging students as a whole as well. Okay, see you in the next podcast.